look, I think it's always interesting how much we can really read into that. I think this is probably a good move from Chiefs, to be honest. They played Chalet against Fury. That was a 7-0, very clean. Obviously, very different opponent, but they're clearly proficient on Chalet at this level. Look, Wildcard in the past also been fairly decent at Chalet. They did win it domestically last night, as been mentioned. But I feel like for Chiefs, it's like a power play on two parts. One is clearly a good map for them, but also it's a map that they can play again, and it hides more of the depth of their map pool for later in the stage.
Absolutely. Now, while Chiefs come in as the favored team, let's not forget that in Stage 3 last year, Wildcard actually got the better of Chiefs. In fact, we're seeing a funny pattern occurring. Last stage, in Stage 3 last year, these two teams played in OCN and Chiefs won. On following night, they played in APAC South and Wildcard won on Bank. So Chiefs not only trying to fight to prove that all of the statements are true, also to prove that they can get some revenge against Wildcard.
Some pretty big operator bans coming out here too, actually, Dev. I mean, a lot standard about the Flores and the Maverick in particular. Maverick fairly strong on Chalet these days, you know, pretty critical for a lot of the attacks, but really liking the Wamai and of course the Valkyrie, but in particular that Wamai ban. You know, those magnets can be really crucial for some particular elements of defenses. I'm thinking in particular, you know, if you're holding Bar Gaming and you've got a shield at kind of the top library stairs, you really do lean a lot on having a lot of different magnets placed around to hold that. So now it's really going to increase the prevalence of Jaeger. As you can see here, Kairo's brought that one in. So yeah, look, I think that's a great ban from Chiefs.
Especially because this ban has come through from Wildcard, meaning that you're going to need to use projectiles rather than those Rotero drones to clear those power positions. However, another form of power position that has managed to slip through the ban phase is Mirror has managed to slip through, and wow, I mean, talk about power positions. If anything, in a lot of cases, mirror windows are far more power than deployable shields. However, a lot more limited in where you can place them. So Milo's going to place one in the piano alcove here, facing directly into the master closet with a line of sight all the way into Solarium.
Yeah, I do like that. I think it's Solarium's always a tricky one to hold, right? You can't really be in Solarium, especially with multiple players. It's certainly susceptible to a lot of things. You can get bird control below and trophy. You can have a player on the window kind of pestering around. So yeah, it's not a position of comfort. So to be able to extend that back somehow with that mirror, I think is a pretty cool little play.
I love this. The 2-floor camera disposal from Boydie. He's looking for the default camera in Solarium to try and start by. This is a Solarium take for the Chiefs, and in fact they find the first pick, a very early one from Worthy on the main window, taking out Pat, who was all the way in piano.
Really good job cutting that rotate nice and early. Can always be one of those things about VOD reviews, right? You can always see that they might have a player running flex between bathroom and piano really early, and so maybe Worthy identified, hey, this is something I can cut off. Maybe just lucky on timing, but regardless, it was a good opening pick. For Wildcard though, Cairo has at least been able to trade that back, taking out Bouncing, and that is a bit of utility on the Zofia that won't be used now for Chiefs. We already talked about the necessary need for projectiles to blow certain things up with Flores off the board, but they have still got 4 frags in the pocket at least.
Those frags are going to be even more powerful than Zofia's explosives from the lifeline. Vinny's in a very important position. You can see he's got eyes onto the shield, or onto the windows of Solarium, but his biggest threat is Boydie here on the main window with the nade that goes on out, but doesn't take him down just yet.
Good from Wildcard to not kind of overextend in an attempt to kind of regain a lot more of the control. She's still very spread out as well. Ethan, a bit of a cheeky little angle below in the kitchen hatch, trying to catch a rotate from office. But already you can see here, Chiefs fairly well set up for what looks like it's actually more of a Solarium execute, which is very, very different to what you would say is the meta or the norm, and that's to really push the office side.
And what I'm really liking is this from Digital. The Kairos from Hibana has actually taken down the mirror window that looks into Solarium and forced Wildcard back. And that does enable a swing in, but Cairo, where did he find that angle from? What a shot. Boydie does make it even now, 3-on-3 with 30 seconds to go, and Wildcard falling back further and further. That might give Chiefs some ground here. 20 seconds now on the clock. And these Chief players are going to have to go big. Boydie finds one on the entry. Vinny desperately looking for something on back, but Boydie's monstrous in this game. Ethan forcing that diffuser down on the ground, and Vinny's got to make good on it. Former teammates, perhaps, but no, Ethan gets the better of him, and the Chiefs can narrowly win that first round.
That was a great show of what this match could be. That was very back and forth, back and forth. We saw the opening pick go in favor of Chiefs, soon traded by Wildcard. And that was just generally how the round panned out. Lots of trades coming back and forth. It felt like nobody was really getting that advantage. Really well fought from Chiefs, and a big effort from Boydie on the 3K really enabled the plant to come down from Chiefs. And I think that really did help Ethan in the way he was able to kind of play out that end of round. So good stuff from Chiefs to get that first round.
It's funny, I was, while we were casting that moment just there with Ethan and Vinny, I thought, oh, former teammates. Actually, no, they're not. Funnier than that, Vinny actually replaced Ethan on Wildcard back in the day. So I might have been wrong, but for a funny reason. And, well, I mean, both very, very strong players. And Wildcard were able to retain their dominance even after losing Ethan. Vinny stepped into those shoes well. But it wasn't until a couple months after where Wildcard started to falter off. And Chiefs, of course, overtook as the #1 team in the Oceanic region. Definitely the battle of the 2020 best team in OS versus the 2021 best team in OS. Who is going to be the 2022 best team in OS? That remains to be seen.
Definitely does. At least from the APAC results, of course, it kind of feels like Chiefs at this stage, but this is a great opportunity for Wildcard to really say otherwise. And of course, we've still got a lot of this game to play out, and that first one was really close, so it's hard to say how it feels like they're separated at this point. But what I like from Wildcard, not going to dwell on that office defense, certainly close. They can come back to it later. Rotated site now, are going to be holding this basement site.
What is the play from Chiefs? A full roam clear, perhaps? Very powerful if you can achieve one, as there's so much vertical potential on this bomb site. You can really flush out so many positions. Step one appears to be opening this main snowmobile wall. That should be pretty simple from Digital, thanks to the nade. Worthy does take a bit of damage. He gets the better of Milo. It's a rush, in fact. Look at Chiefs. Head on in. Ethan goes down. Pat finds one. Vinny has absolutely put these guys in the coffin. Chiefs just have Worthy and Digital now. This rush, an absolute failure.
Yeah, not good. It was almost a team kill there in the middle of it as well. I think just a little hasty from Chiefs. Not sure what they saw that really called it. They could get that rush off, but it's going to be good from Wildcard to stunt that. And for Chiefs, unfortunately, they did get that opening kill. They had the advantage, but they've really thrown that one into the wind. So all on the shoulders of Worthy and Digital. We've seen them get some clutches before, in particular Worthy, but this looks like it's going to be a bit of a tough one.
Not quite it for Digital there. Now Worthy, yes, the MVP of OCN in 2021. Yes, the star player from the Chiefs, but doesn't have a lot of HP. One flash. Is he actually going to try and go for it is my question, or are they going to take the opportunity to have a bit of a chat? Looks like he will go for it. Credit to him. Got to be impressed. Doesn't have the diffuser though, so Wildcard can camp that. That C4 was a near miss. With how low Worthy is, he's got to be extra careful. An impact or a gas babe could be the end of him. Trying to land these shots. There's the gas. He has no choice but to wait. Oh. Gets a little bit too close. Sniffs it and doesn't like what he smells.
Apparently that did not smell good. But yeah, look, I think that was definitely over at that point. Whether you're really just trying to see if he could make something work, but could not. Wildcard are going to be happy to be able to keep things in check there, tie up the score nice and early, not let Chiefs run away with that one. And look, I think big credit to Wildcard. They saw that rush coming. I saw that the default cam was lit up blue, so somebody was on cams. Great job to that support player. And also they had the mirror facing it anyway. I think it was a bit of an odd call from Chiefs. It was super noticeable. Wildcard had all the time to react. Did a great job doing so.
Yeah, that mirror window really was... it put a nail in the side for Chiefs. There was really no way you managed to pull off a rush like that when there's someone staring at you through a mirror window. You've got to assume that they had info that maybe there were a couple players off site, and they assumed it was just 1 or 2 guys on site. They thought they could blitz it. But also, you know, it's ironic, really. You mentioned the default camera. I wonder whether that was Milo, who'd been killed on the roam very early by Worthy.
Probably, yeah.
If anything, losing that player early and getting Milo to sit on that camera may have actually helped Wildcard win the round.
It's actually a great point. You're probably right. It probably was Milo. I think at that stage they were very aware that there were multiple players over at Snowmobile because they'd been burning the utility. So look, they probably had Milo just watching that just in case. And yeah, look, I think it was just a bit of a bad call from Chiefs. Well read by Wildcard. Regardless, progressing here, it's going to be Bar Gaming as the site now. Let's see how this one pans out. Loving the Frost play. Do see Frost picked pretty frequently, actually, on the defense of Bar Gaming.
Yeah, I mean, she's just so good with those that shield and the 3 Frost mats, forcing players to make a decision between looking down at the window as they jump in or taking a fight. On top of that, you've got the shotgun for helping make rotates, open hatches. You've also got a fantastic primary weapon in the 9mm. Looks like Wildcard have a bit of a roam going, but they're going to be met with contest fairly soon. Digital droning out and Worthy on for the entry. He's found another opening pick every single round this map. Worthy has been the opening aggressor.
Yeah, 3 from 3 on opening kills in this game. That's actually insane. But to Wildcard's credit, they have done a really good job being able to trade them back. They have almost lost 2 people in the process, though. Milo, OJ, both quite low from that contest. But at the end of the day, very important to have traded that. Boydie had a really impactful round 1. Sledge, of course, some really good vertical play, which helps a lot with this site once you get library control, if you get library control. So I think going for that trade was 100% worth it for Wildcard here.
Of course, being low for Milo and OJ is a bit of a threat, especially with these high damage weapons on the attacking side, which should polish off these defenders in just a single bullet or perhaps a stray grenade. Let's see how Chief can use this utility, the nades, the flashes, and everything else in their arsenal to clear these positions, particularly the one in library. I believe that is OJ. Or is it perhaps Milo? Can't quite tell from this angle. Currently sitting in library and very vulnerable.
This is a really important part of this attack too. Chiefs need to be able to clear out this library position. Otherwise, an execute is going to be pretty rough. There is too many ways to deny a plant below. Milo knows it. He needs to sit here and hold this for his life.
Oh, what a shot.
He's been able to get a pick onto Ethan as well to drop back. As really well played from Milo and Wildcard. They're going to carry through this advantage into this final execute phase. Just under 25 seconds to go.
Worthy continuing his form. He's going to have to do a whole lot more than that. 3 players left for Wildcard. And Chiefs desperately looking to find him. Bouncing on for the entry. Walking in through bar. LMG in hand. Digital finds Milo. A fantastic peek from Bounce and almost loses his life. OJ finished off by Worthy himself. And the Chiefs make that 3 versus 4. 25-second execute their own.
Very clean as well. Like, they made that look way too easy. Much easier than it should have been. Look, I think that's a really good display of some of that Chiefs coordination. You're right, they're bouncing really whiffing on that player in the bar. I think that would have been very detrimental if he'd lost that gunfight. But at the end of the day, it's a great job from Chiefs. They were not in the greatest of position, as we kind of highlighted coming into that final part of the rounds. But they really made it work just through sheer team play and coordination, which you love to see.
And look, there's been a trend in Rainbow Six of teams replacing support or flex players with fraggers, even when that fragger then maybe perhaps contributes in a supportive fashion, or you have some role changes. But I mean, there's no doubt that that's exactly what Chiefs did, right? Like, they got rid of Fisho Guy, who was their hard support player, moved Digital, who was their vert player, onto that role, and then picked up 2 fraggers, right? Like, Boydie and Bouncin both really known for being mechanically gifted. And like you mentioned, yes, Boydie might have whiffed that, but he got the kill. And if he hadn't, that round may have gone to Wildcard. It probably would have. And occasionally, 1v1 battles make or break rounds. And that's the thing that Chiefs have I think really tried to lean on with these players. Of course, I'm not saying the only thing they contribute is their fragging ability, but it's pretty damn nice when you can win some fights and claw back a 3 versus 4.
Yeah, I will say, I feel like the Chiefs have done a pretty good job with the way that they have rolled out, as in like defined roles for this team. Digital going back to support. I think that was actually the first role he played when he joined this roster, when they were actually Elevate. Pretty sure he was on that hard support role and was always a fairly decent hard support, but having Fisho kind of enabled him to play more flex. But now it means that he can go back to hard support. Ethan is probably more of that flex player. And then, yeah, Boydie bouncing more on the fragging roles. And then Worthy, well, Worthy just does Worthy things. And apparently that is just farm entry kills. So super curious to see whether that's going to be a continued trend here in round 4.
Funny, isn't it? Worthy, you'd think he's on the flank watch role with the Nomad, but he essentially has a license to do his role and then make plays and find kills, particularly on the entry. He is always unafraid of taking those fights. Won every single entry battle so far, every round. Looking to find another one as Wildcard feel this pressure. Dining defense, but pressure upstairs. Feeling that response from the Chiefs as they drone it out, as they start to breach a lot of these positions and enable long lines of sight to clear these Wildcard players.
Chiefs just always doing a great job, not overextending early. That was a bit of a dash there from Vinny. Thankfully, not letting Bouncin hit any of those shots. And
oh my God,
being able to get past again. The timing of this is absolutely insane. Bouncin certainly going to be kicking himself for not being able to catch that. And it looks like Vinny is still very keen to be able to peek the contest. And this is just, oh my Lord, what is going on?
Oh my God, Vinny and Cairo dancing with death, and Vinny gets punished for it. Let's see what Wildcard can do on this top floor though, because it looks like Chiefs may be tightening the noose. Bouncin finds Pat as well. Cairo gets one back, but he's got a fallback now. As Wildcard have the numbers disadvantage, and the Chiefs are looking very, very good here.
Certainly are. OJ looking away at the wrong second there. And unfortunately, Boydie, he's going to be able to get that pick. Again, Wildcard doing a really good job with these trades to keep themselves in it. Cairo is stepping up when it matters. And now this 2 versus 2, again, coming down to this like 25-second mark execute for Chiefs.
Oh, thank God Bouncin shot that Frost map, but now spotted as well. Cairo in a pivotal position. Where is Milo? He's got to get back and support his teammate. Here he is, but Cairo is the first line of defense. Milo finds Bouncin, and Wildcard might have made it work. What a huge round from Cairo. Wildcard, despite that early deficit, they managed to claw back and make even with the Chiefs.
Really good job from Cairo. Love the style spin at the end. But look, it was a really good job from Wildcard, just weathering that in general. Constantly trading. I think that's starting to be much more of a standout for me with Wildcard, is they're just doing such a good job at trading these picks out. It hasn't felt like many opportunities where Chiefs are, stacking picks together, and it feels like it's just all over for Wildcard. They're keeping themselves in it, and it's just super critical against a clean team like Chiefs. And speaking of keeping themselves in it, a 2-2 scoreline right now is pretty huge. And if Wildcard managed to break ahead at this point as they rotate to attack, I think that's a really good sign for them to be able to potentially close this game out. Feels like they're doing enough at this stage.
Oh, that's it, isn't it? Like, Wildcard really have less pressure on their shoulders on this defensive half than you'd say Chiefs would, right? Like, Chalet typically an attacker-sided map. I don't have the stats for APAC South so far, but we're in early days of the new meta and early days of the new season, so it's hard to read too much into, 2-3 play days worth of stats. Probably only a handful of maps worth. But I think that it's safe to say a map that was already fairly attacker-sided, heading into a more attacker-sided meta with repick, Wildcard would be happy with 2 rounds and a potential 3 on the cards as well.
Yeah, and also just to play into your point, we've actually only seen Chalet once before this match, and that was Chiefs against Fury, which was a 7-0. And they got the 6 rounds on their defense half, so you're right, the stats super skewed so far for the stage. Hard to read into exactly how it's looking, but yeah, look, this has been a very even affair right now. 2 rounds left for the half. Wildcard managed to break ahead. I think that's certainly really crucial for them. But they're going to go top floor site? No, what am I saying? Why did I think it was top floor?
It's Snow Wine, believe it or not.
It is,
which is previously where Chiefs went for the rush. Thankfully, they're not doing so again.
No, definitely not.
The other interesting factor here is, I know we don't want to read too much into the OCN results from last night, but Chiefs played Bliss. They lost the match, and they went 5-1 down on their attacking half. They only won a single attack against Bliss. Now, they've already done better than that here against Wildcard. And Chiefs were fairly good on their defense. They won 3 out of 5 played. So perhaps that can redeem a little bit of faith in them, especially if they can string together another 1 or 2 attack rounds here.
Could do. Right now, though, they are a little slow on this attack. Of course, they have had to do a bit of a top-down clear, and that's what they've decided to do. But already half the round gone. No pressure on site at this point. Just a bit of a win from Wildcard. They're still holding some kind of room here. You can see Cairo. You can see, I think it was Milo as well, just running around, trying to cause some havoc in through the bar, and just not enable Chiefs to be able to get that control in the lobby, which is where they're going to be able to flex some vertical play. You know, they've got Boydie on the sledge, which they can utilize that. And now OJ with this aggressive re-roam on the top floor.
But Worthy is watching for the flanks, but doesn't have a drone for this position. I think he did here, however, the C4 clear the air jab. Milo falls back, but we still have an ever-present roamer upstairs. I believe it was OJ, and he could execute a flank at some point, but Chiefs are really starting to pressure this site.
They are. You can see they got 2 entries now into Wine Cellar, so pressure starting to be on. OJ's been able to slip through. It's going to be a very pivotal gunfight here for how this round is going to progress. And once again, we're getting a bit stalled out, but Chiefs are edging forward as we get to the execute.
Oh, it's just so good for Chiefs, isn't it? How do they manage to make it happen? Ethan down on the ground, but Vinny, he might be able to make this good. That C4 does not land, but he might be able to land some shots. The 2 anchors now have to try and retake a 2 versus 3. An unenviable position, no doubt, and a lot of long lines are side open for the attacking side. Digital doubles down. And a 3rd attack round for the Chiefs. They are looking pretty comfy here on Chalet.
Really well played from Digital in that position as well. He, I don't know, he just got really great timing when Vinny kind of took his eyes off on the Wine Cellar, just rotated deeper into the corner, unpredictable position, really enabled that play to happen. That's what you want from your hard support player. He did such a good job just doing what he needed to do, getting in, getting that plant down, and then also defending it beautifully in that post plant. I think really big round from Digital. He's actually got the most plants in the league until tonight, and the fact that he's still getting plants tonight, I think he's going to continue to extend that. The other thing I just want to quickly highlight about Digital, 2nd highest cost in the league after the first few play days, so he's really doing a great job within that role that he's been put into.
Very consistent. That's really what cost is, right? It's a measure of consistency, because you could get a kill and plant the diffuser and survive the round and in the same round, and that still wouldn't affect your cost stat. All that matters is that you're consistent. You get either one of those stats every single round. That's how you maintain a high cost. Another thing for Chiefs, I just want to comment on how they really played that flank watch game well, and that counter roam well. Like, they didn't try and, like, the traditional way of playing Siege, like back in the day, we don't see this so much anymore, but it's like you clear the whole, you know, top floor, 2nd floor, clear the whole map, and then you start executing, and you watch your flanks, so you know for sure there's no one upstairs. That's not what Chiefs did. They just cleared a portion of the map, and then they set up flank watch, and Worthy's role was just watching those flanks. On top of that, Bouncin scanned out some footsteps to help as well. That Jackal came and really open up the round for Chiefs as well. Shut down those wildcard roamers.
Yeah, I think I said it yesterday when Chiefs did their nice little clean Osso plant, the other play day, sorry, on Bank, where they did a nice clean Osso plant. I'm a big fan of keeping it simple, and I think that's a great way of keeping it simple. Like, to your point, they didn't do the full roam clear and then have to hold all the flanks. They just took what was needed and then kind of set up from that point, and set up well. So yeah, I think it's a really good strength of this new Chiefs roster. It seems to be a new ethos that they're approaching, in that they're not going to try and do everything. They're just going to do what they need to do and do it well.
In comes a nade. Doesn't find it. Milo, what a great C4. Ethan goes down. Fantastic C4 up, I believe, through the hatch from Kitchen. Takes out the player on the master window. And now Chiefs really struggling with this power position that Milo has set up. Covering these windows, Vinny as well. I mean, he's playing it. He's got the DMR. He's got an Electroclaw on it as well. He's stacked in this position, and it's going to be so hard for Chiefs to clear.
And that Surya Gate is going to be available to be activated again sometime soon, so that burn is just really not going to be altered at all very soon. Chiefs,
oh my god,
once again going to have to be fighting from behind here. Wildcard have done such a great job for the first 2 minutes of this round. Right now it feels like it's kind of conservation for Chiefs. They're really figuring out this approach. Digital hasn't been successful kind of clearing that mirror from Solarium. So what do they do now? Where do they start to approach this from?
Boydie went downstairs. Cairo eventually peaks and gets the better of bouncing on this window. Worthy can find one back onto Milo. But really, this should be a game of consolidating for Wildcard. Vinny spots that Digital has made his way inside, but doesn't quite yet manage to land those shots. Still a lot of info he's managed to gather. And he knows that that player has now walked up from Solarium and onto that master doorway. Vinny's still cutting off the two players, separating them from helping each other. And Worthy goes down, but not out yet. And now finally finished off. Digital can find one, but the Yokais are not making this easy. That as well from both sides of the coin in this matchup. But as we go down, it's the Chiefs' first defensive round. And they're going to pick up bar stock. And we do once again, Raven, see these operator picks on the attacking side that you were so keen for.
Yeah, super keen how this combines. You know, I called out the Amara and the Dokkaebi, but even just adding in the Finca, I know Finca's a lot more of a mainstay or a standard pick these days, given her strength in the meta. But regardless, just the combination of all of them, it's a bit of an exciting concept. So look, I'm super keen to how this plays out. They've already identified here that Chiefs have a bit of presence vertically, so they're gonna have to try and figure out ways to shut that down. I really wonder whether the site isn't what Wildcard we're hoping for. I'm just not sure exactly how this composition is going to play into this attack strategy.
OJ almost finds Worthy in the actually bouncing rather, who decides to re-peek. And well, there you go, a former teammate rivalry right there. We love those, don't we?
We do.
Bouncing off the board early.
Pretty great start from Wildcard. Starting to look consistently clean in a lot of these rounds, which is a really great sign for them. That's a good opening pick in that first minute. And now this puts a lot of pressure on Chiefs, to be honest. Starting to have that presence around, dining in through the hallway towards bar, means there has to be that focus in around lobby, for example, and it means that it starts to separate some of the vertical players. You can see Boydie is one of those, on the Warden as well, so he can't really be stunned or smoked out.
I reckon Milo must have hacked cameras there because Boydie shot out his own team's camera.
Yep.
So Wildcard, they're going to make really good use of that Dokkaebi pick as well, not just for the logic bombs.
Love that. Certainly not something you see as common with Dokkaebi, right? It's one thing to do the logic bombs, but you don't see the hacked cameras come through as much, especially at this level. But here we go. Final minute. Wildcard still managed to have maintained their man advantage. 5 players up, 5 players completely undamaged, in fact. So it's certainly going to help them with an execute. But there are some Chiefs players in some critical positions still. In particular, Boydie hanging out around Mez and Library. It does create a bit of a pain for Wildcard to still have to deal with.
We did see Pat, however, get a little bit of a breach onto the stock wall from bottom main stairs. And that's forced all of the Chiefs players out of that stock room. In fact, Digital and Worthy doubling down behind the bar. OJ does take down Boydie, his second for the round, and Wildcard have furthered this man advantage, plus taken top floor control.
Jeez.
OJ with the triple kill. He's on fire. It's just Digital and Worthy to try and hold on, but 15 seconds doesn't leave much time for Wildcard. A desperate push in. Worthy finds one. It's all gone down the toilet, but OJ, he lands the 4K and closes the round. A good start on the attack for Wildcard.
Great start, honestly. That was beautiful from Wildcard. They just did such a good job identifying what Chiefs were doing. And even though they had a composition that, honestly, I don't think it lended itself very well to the attack that they needed to do for that site, they still made it work. You know, they didn't try and cheese something just because they had the operators. They still did such a good job at just, I don't know, taking their time. And in particular, OJ was such a solid backbone on that round. It's not like he went and did anything, you know, it wasn't like a star play. It wasn't like a highlight reel of frags. You know, he ended up with a 4K on the rounds. But at the end of the day, that's what you need from a player that's probably playing more support flex on the team.
mean, it's not like he just, walked into sight and flicked 4 different heads. No, it was consistent, right? Like his first kill was cutting off a rotation of a roamer and then just piece by piece getting closer and closer to sight. And at the end, entering to clean up the cover. Very nice stuff from him. And I think that goes to show the reason you pick Amaru is not for the gadget. You don't use the gadget once. You just want the G8 with the 2x scope, man. That's all you need.
That is all you need these days. It's not wrong, but no, I think overall that was a really great start from Wildcard. You do want that on your attacks. Pushes them into the lead as well. Just a bit of pressure on Chiefs here, and in general, I think Chiefs are being very well challenged. I think this is a really good display of what Wildcard's capable of right here. I'm just curious, can they continue this? Can they continue this momentum and going toe-to-toe with Chiefs? They literally traded round for round in the first half. Chiefs Wildcard, Chiefs Wildcard, Chiefs Wildcard. So if this is consecutive round wins from Wildcard, I think that's huge.
I mean, that's what it was. The final round of the first half and the first round of the second half was the first consecutive round wins of either team so far. And yes, if they can further this lead, it would indeed be massive. Nice setup on the basement from the Chiefs in the wine cellar snowmobile garage. A lot of those Vulcan canisters around and about, and Worthy unleashed. Great to see him on the defense have a license to kill.
On the roam as well, and he's managed to take out Pat. So that is the thermite, the exothermic charges, not able to be used. Didn't quite catch how many he had used, but regardless. Kyra is here trying to make some work in and around wine cellar, just put some pressure back towards site. You can see Wildcard are going to have to try and adapt to that, and Chiefs do still have a lot of that map control. Worthy on the top floor, just saw Bouncing also still hanging out around the bar. So this is a bit of a squishy attack from Wildcard. They're going to have to be super careful about flanks.
Yes, it's going to be really, really scary with that map control still in the hands of Chiefs, particularly the dining hatch, which is open. And I believe Worthy was on the top floor above it. Wildcard need to be ultra cautious. As you can see, Milo is here just now, worried about the run out from Bouncing.
Bomb located by
just over a minute to go still, and Chiefs still have these 2 roamers, Bouncing and Worthy, ready to deal some damage and spring when the moment lends itself. But here's Cairo. Look at that plant spot. Doesn't want to plant on the drone hole. Gets spotted from Connector. And, well, traded back. That's not so bad for Wildcard, but still a numbers disadvantage for the attacking side. There's so much time on the board, but they opted to go early. Digital finds another one. Milo trades it back, but it's just him and OJ to try and hold on. 3 players from the Chiefs now looking to try and pressure, to try and retake this bomb site, which has been completely stolen away by Wildcard. Milo can't finish that plant without taking down Worthy, but he lands the headshot, which leaves Ethan and Bouncing with a hell of a lot of work to be done.
Totally winnable here for Wildcard as well. Milo, can he get this plant down at least to force the post-plant situation? He pulls off. Ethan's been able to push deep here, and now it is all on OJ's shoulders, Dev, with 10 seconds to go.
Not likely to make this one work. No choice but to try and find the 2 kills, but Ethan doesn't overpeak, and Chiefs are going to find this first round for themselves on their defense. A fantastic retake, despite that attempted rush from Wildcard.
Really like it, though. I was literally about to say, I was waiting for the throwdown. I'm literally about to say, I think this is the time from Wildcard. There's no chance they're going to flush out Bouncing and Worthy. So I was like, this is the time. Just push deep in sight. Try to get a plant down. And literally, before you threw Cairo, he's in sight, trying to get that plant down. Just unfortunately for him, he didn't account for the fact that somebody was playing tight con. Just got that angle onto the bomb chassis. Almost think that he should have just risked, planting tighter near the drone hole. I think it's a pretty... It's not a deep drone hole, but I think it's deep enough where it's still a pretty tight angle to get to actually be able to pick out that player from memory.
I think you're probably right. I think that drone hole, it's a really long pipe, if that makes sense. You have to be really, really far back on the other side to actually see anything in blue. And a very unpredictable drone hole. So just some slight hesitation from Cairo there. But nonetheless, a great round from Wildcard, to be honest. With losing Pat early on, managing to get it down to a 2v2, really respectable. But the Chiefs, I mean, that's why they're as good as they are, because they can win scenarios like that, because they can adapt mid-round. They don't overextend when it's time for a retake.
So we still couldn't buck that trend, at least in the halves exclusively. We haven't had anybody go back-to-back in terms of round wins. So that's It's really showing that these teams are quite evenly matched at this stage. But no, Sight's going to progress now. Bar Gaming. Wildcard getting some early entry here in through Snowmobile. Probably looking to get some really quick early presence in and around the bottom of lobby and just ensure that there's no rotations, I guess, coming through this part of site, or part of the map, I should say.
We do have some slight operator changes from the Chiefs here. Digital bringing the Mute instead of the Frost. Ethan bringing the Smoke instead of the Aruni. So really going to be leaning in. That's still a shield, but you've got, of course, the Smoke, and likely the FMG would be my guess from Ethan. Actually, I don't know. One of either Digital or Ethan's got to run Shoddy. Not sure who would be doing it. My guess is Digital. Some serious potential on the anchors for both of those players. Cairo, oh, he might be given a free kill here. No, player on the other side, I believe Bouncin does hear him out.
Could use some Jackal here as well. Obviously to shut down, or finds the Jaeger. That was so close to a wallbang there from OJ. Does finally get him as well. It's actually Milo that gets the frag onto Bouncin. That was just another display of some great execution of Wildcard and team play as well. So Chiefs on the back foot. They've lost that opening pick.
And a lot of great Jackal usage in this match from both teams as well. Hunting down those roamers, watching those flanks. Now, Wildcard have taken a lot of map control here, dining in their hands very firmly. OJ fully out of drones, though. That's unfortunate. He's a player that would really want to be droning quite a lot. Wildcard overall only have 4 left. Really going to be relying, funnily enough, on Cairo. He's the only one with both his drones still up and running.
Definitely make it a bit interesting, but at least OJ does have the Inox of Jackal, so, you know, it's not quite as good as droning, but it can give you some info. You don't have to always scan those footprints. It can show you some pathings. You can use that to kind of make some educated guesses and where players have progressed to. But I think the big thing here is time. Still 5 up for Wildcard. Oh, facts. They've been able to give themselves a bigger man advantage, and now they're coming into the final 30 seconds to try and make this execute happen.
Woody does a good job on site. OJ trades Ethan. Now Milo wants to go deep. 25 seconds, but Boydie holding on. He is finally traded. It is all on Worthy, the best player that Australia or New Zealand have to offer. And he will have to retake a 1v3. The Chiefs sit back in silence and wait for their star player to show up. Good pre-fires, good game sense, but only 30 seconds to make it work. A flash makes him turn his head and try a different angle, peeking on inside. I mean, that was already there. OJ on the sledge. I think that's the main one here that's notable. You need that vertical potential when you take control of Master and you want to start flushing out the positions on site. You don't sacrifice the nades when you move off the Yana because you've still got that sledge. But a player I'm really keenly watching is Bouncin. I mean, he has been a menace, like always, within the Oceanic region. He's been such a highlight player, and he was picked up because of his insane mechanics, his aggression, his opening kill potential. He's only found 1 opening kill this match, and since that rehost, he hasn't found a single kill whatsoever.
That's just big credit to Wildcard, I'd say, unless he's just having a bit of a shocker. But the stats don't lie to really back you up here. He's the 2nd highest rated player in APAC South until this game, Dev. Also has the 2nd highest KD and the 2nd highest entry stat until this game. So you're right, seeing him be so quiet and be shut down, it's either massive credit to Wildcard or unfortunately he's having a bit of a shocker. But regardless, his impact has not been seen. So Chiefs has struggled just a tad here. And also just an interesting little point from Guz in our chat as well. In terms of the playoff window, the playoff potential, it's pretty important for Wildcard to get a regulation win here because they have struggled the last couple of play days. So to pull out 3 points certainly helps their chances for playoffs.
Yeah, if Chiefs can win this, it punches up their probability of playoffs to 88%. Wildcard, if they lose this in regulation... Oh, Cairo. Thankfully, the finger boost comes through, but unfortunately, it's looking a bit grim for Wildcard with Worthy taking down Milo. And well, that's another opening kill for Worthy. This dude is actually cracked. Like, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 opening kills out of 10 rounds we've had so far.
It's actually insane because until this game, he'd only had 4 from the first 3 play days. So he's already doubled that in just this one. And speaking of double, he's got a double kill for the round. This entire round is feeling like a bit of a write-off for Wildcard, unfortunately. They've got a minute to go to try and turn this around. But yeah, not a lot has gone their way.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Very, very difficult push now for Wildcard. Chiefs can just consolidate, fall back, simplify their defense with this mount advantage. Still so much map control. Just look at it. Worthy's still upstairs. Ethan also the ability to look through these smokes thanks to the smart glasses from Warden. Boydie as well, the ability to look through smokes and see highlighted players thanks to those evil eyes. Although it is taken out, Wildcard now goes potentially for an execute into Kitchen. Not every day we get to see Kitchen be the front side of this execute. And this is going to have to be a bit of a retake. This is an awkward one for Chiefs, but Worthy has a fantastic angle above. Pat's forcing down this diffuser. There is no way that Wildcard wins this. They're coming back from a 3 versus 5, but they've got that diffuser down. Ethan can make it a 5v2 on for the retake. We've seen Chiefs win retakes before. Cairo shut down. Pat in the 1 versus 5. He's been spotted. He can't do it. It ends up as a flawless round for the Chiefs, despite that plan from Wildcard.
It was a really good round from Chiefs, and unfortunately not the greatest for Wildcard, but credit to Wildcard to actually put themselves in a chance to get the plant down and even be in post-plant in the first place when it was a 3 versus 5 scenario. That shows a lot about their resilience, but to Chiefs' credit, you called it. It was a very awkward retake, a bit of a strange situation to be in, but did a great job with it. And once again, they've answered back. We're at 5-5. This is such a huge round. Obviously, the winner of this one goes to match point. They lock in minimum OT, minimum 1 point, and it, of course, stops the other team from being able to get the juicy 3 points in regulation. So round 11, it's a spicy one.
It really does feel like at this juncture, these teams are so tightly contested. And it is so exciting, isn't it, to think that Wildcard are back and ready to contest, ready to fight for those, well, I'm not even going to say those top spots in the league, but fight for the crown of OCE. I mean, we are here in APAC South, right? This is not just the Oceanic League, but these two teams have been the reigning champions of OCE in the last 2 years. It was Wildcard in 2019-2020, and it was Chiefs, of course, in 2021. And I mean, I'm so curious as to who's going to be able to claim that title, or if we're perhaps not going to have a single team so dominant in the coming year.
Certainly right. And look, I think this is great to see Wildcard, like you said, being able to be up there and contest themselves for top positions. Honestly, after some of the form that we'd seen from them in APAC South, I felt like top 4 was super viable for Wildcard now, which last year you definitely wouldn't have caught me saying. So it feels nice to be able to say that again. But they've got to win some of these big games. They, of course, unfortunately, choked a very close game to IG a couple of play days ago. And now they face this one. Chiefs, they're also a top team. They can pull out the victory here. There's some kind of redemption on that.
Good drone work from Wildcard, sussing out the site here on Master Office. Milo on the double window as well can cut off so much, but vulnerable to C4s from below. Boydie downstairs still has that C4 in pocket, and there are pre-opened holes. A C4 that Wildcard knows oh too well. No mirror windows for Ethan, but he has a very similar setup to Wildcard, but with a shield instead of mirror window. Bouncing does take down Milo though. Another really good, impactful opening pick for the Chiefs.
Pretty huge there. See whether they can continue this one. Ethan just doing a great job here, holding off the barrage from Solarium. But I see players in, the outlines are in. OJ gets the pick onto Ethan. Wildcard again doing a really good job not getting too sold out. That C4 misses, but Wildcard are in some really good positioning here.
That said, Boydie has managed to find one. Worthy now finished off on site. Pat and OJ have the objective all to themselves. And the retake must come through. Digital and Boydie, no C4s on either of them. They're just going to have to rely on their pure fragging potential. A whole minute left. Digital goes down to OJ. He's found a triple. Looking for the quadruple. As Boydie tries to move on forward, he can take down OJ. Pat versus Boydie. And the man gets it. 2 rounds in a row, breaking the momentum. The Chiefs have found match point.
How things were for them previously, but it definitely comes to a point where they need to They need to win these close games against the top teams. They could have, look, it's not done yet, but they could have been looking at a regulation win against IG and against Chiefs today, and they could be looking in a top 2 position with Direwolves. But unfortunately, their closing ability has been lacking. So this is another big test. Can they at least push this to OT? Look, if they get an overtime win, that helps. It's some kind of recovery in a way.
Wildcard still have a chance to push overtime. Thatcher's EMP and Thermite's exothermic name a more iconic duo. What was that? An impact grenade through the drone hole, perhaps? Very, very cheeky. Indeed it was. Oh, Ethan can't land the second one, but wow, that was quite something. And that is a lot of hard breach tonight.
Bomb located by attackers.
Another bit of a win of the mini games there from Chiefs. First minute, bit of action. You can see quite a lot of pressure on the wine side now from Wildcard. In fact, they've got 4 players, actually 5 players really, all on this side of the map. So it's going to be this hard wine cellar push. But again, they've got a lot of wall denial to deal with on this side. I just heard some X-Kairos pellets go off at least. And Bouncin also trying to be the devil on West Main stairs. If he finds the picks,
Bouncin!
Oh.
How does he manage to pull that off? Wildcard left sleeping. Bouncing once again. No longer can Wildcard shut the man down. Pat finally gets revenge, but Worthy is here, and he could do the exact same damn thing as his teammate. Worthy lands the first one. Pat looking for the trade, but it's all over for Wildcard. Chiefs, they made a massive comeback on their defensive side, and now Wildcard just have OJ left. A 1 versus 4 for the game. Match point down, and Digital wins it for the Chiefs. A 7-5 victory against their oceanic rivals. Sighs of relief. And the Chiefs can punch 3 points onto the scoreboard.
And look, if you had told me they were going to come away from this game with 3 points after how that first half and even some of the